All right, we will open this meeting and final meeting of the Dale Street School Building Committee pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Medfield Dale Street School Building Committee is being conducted by remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. Reminder that persons who would like to listen or view this meeting while in progress may do so by following the instructions on the agenda and meeting notice. Obviously, we are doing sort of a hybrid that order extended through April of next year. But we were allowing members of the public to be here as well as members of the committee. So we have the majority of the members of the committee are here. Leo Brem is not, but he is going to be joining us briefly. Okay, so not a big agenda tonight. Obviously, I think a lot of people here are disappointed in the result, but the result is the result. The project failed at the ballot since town meeting and the ballot since our last meeting. Only about 60% at town meeting and about 48.5% or something percent at the polls on Monday. So subsequent to that, Jeff and myself and Tim had a brief conversation with the MSBA, just talking through things, and really there is no path forward for us. The failed vote pretty much leaves us with the only option of withdrawing our SOI. The Board of Selectmen, for those who have not watched, did vote yesterday evening to submit a letter to the MSBA along with the superintendent's support to withdraw our statement of interest from the MSBA, which will lead them to issue a certification to us, which will be signed by Chairman Marcucci and Dr. Marsden and the chair of the school committee, who will meet on this topic tomorrow evening. And once submitted, that will go to the MSBA board for their December board and official removal from the MSBA process. Certainly not the result any of us had hoped for, but regardless, it is where we are today. So I'm really going to open it up for discussion from the members first. See if anybody has any thoughts they'd like to share. Talk about anything that you feel you want to get on the table before we dissolve this SBC. This will be our last meeting. We serve at the behest of the Board of Selectmen, and they also voted last evening to dissolve this committee. So this is your final chance as a body to be able to state anything you'd like to state regarding this. And then others will decide how we proceed forward. Anyone want to jump in?
I'll start.
Go ahead, Mike.
Obviously very disappointed. Just really, you just said it, others will proceed. So, there were a lot of people who voted against this project for one reason or another. Obviously, I'm disappointed and I disagree with the reasons. But that said, we have a selectman in town who didn't show up to town meeting. He didn't. And he said he voted against the project. As an executive leader in this town, he thinks it could be done for less money. I'd love to see others, starting with Gus and other people in the community who are very vocal in the disagreement of this project, to go ahead and take a crack at it. Because very much what Sharon said at town meeting, and how the warrant committee formalized, which I think they did such an excellent job in their preparation. I was really impressed with really that body and how they put the facts on paper and how they presented them as well. But it's very clear to me from their presentation, as well as everything we talked about the last 4 years, that the next school, if there is going to be a school, which we all still hope there will be eventually, will be more money. Will cost the town more, will take substantial time to get together. So I'm really interested in some other people taking a crack at this. We heard at town meeting from others saying that there's an option for a $46 million school and, kind of pulling things out of thin air, in my opinion. But that said, go for it. Let's volunteer your time as opposed to being naysayers to the committees that, we all volunteer our time. And I know some of you are employees of the town but this is really above and beyond your jobs. So it's really frustrating to me to have public really second guess all the hard work that all of these people have done and who are professionals in what we do. We take time away from that. And that's okay. Like, second guessing is fine. I have no problem with that generally. But you won, great, good for you. Now, step up, because, obviously we didn't do an adequate job convincing the town that what we thought was the right course of action. So that's like that, very plainly said, starting with Gus. And, everybody else who was very anti, and I know you're on the calls now, some of you. Go ahead, take a crack at it. Volunteer your time officially to the town. What kind of expertise can you bring to the table to build a new school for this town? Because that's what we need. So that's where I'm at.
Thanks, Mike.
I'll jump in next. My time is short. I agree with Mike, so I won't rehash that out. And looking forward, I think more importantly is the loss to our children and the children of this town, and the problems that we were going to be able to solve with the plan we put forward on the campus model and other items. And thinking about whatever their next step is and whoever's going to take that charge. The requirements from the school committee, I don't want to speak for the school committee, but I'm going to encourage our school committee to be very specific in an RFP fashion about what needs to be in the school and why we need it. And the requirements, including everything from class size to breakout rooms for services that need to be rendered to students. If we're going to continue to have band in our schools at the lower levels, we can no longer continue to do it the way we're doing it. People are getting distracted in the hallways because the horns are blowing down the hallways today. My own personal son's getting distracted from it. The teachers are fed up with it as well. So we can no longer function with an advanced program without a facility that supports it. And we're going to be I want us to be extremely explicit about what we're going to be asking of this building, regardless of who leads it and where it goes. So that's how I'm thinking that we can make sure that the Medfield's youth population that we serve and the money that's going to be spent for this without NSBA assistance will hopefully come through and give us the structure that we need. So, and it's unfortunate that we will have to wait a bit longer. So, and not to mention the money we're going to probably have to throw away to keep Dale going, without it falling apart at this point. So, and I want to thank you, Michael, for your leadership, talking me off the edge that night.
Just one.
Not always successful, but
We're all sitting in a circle. Kumbaya.
Kumbaya.
So I'll be done.
Thanks, Leo. Anyone else?
If you want to just continue around.
Oh, sure.
Just to add, I'm most sad about not getting to school, and most sad that we're gonna kick the can for at least 5 to 7 years on solving this problem. I remain steadfast that WheeLock was the best solution for this town, and absolutely was gonna add the most value and really the future, a good future of the school system. So I think I'm most sad about that, and I do want to thank all the effort you got. A lot of people did a lot more heavy lifting and really produced a good product, and really amazed by that. And then I with left field included and Arrow Street, it's really a shame that all that hard work went in. As professionals, you just keep the wind out of your sails, right? It's really kind of a shame, so. Those are my couple thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Walt.
I'll take next. So I've been in town for a long time, I've been paying taxes in this town for commercial since 1987, so some people may not have even been born then. So, and I'm also sort of quiet, but I'm also cheap, but I'm 100% support this project. And I find this it's very, very sad. And Mike Quinlan and the rest of the leadership has done, and the school leadership and everybody has done an exceptional job. This is just so sad. And I wanted to thank a prior building committee. My kids are old, they're in their 20s and 30s, but the prior building committee got them at high school and middle school, Tim Bonfatty in particular. And I wish we had all been able to offer the same for the future kids at Dale. It's going to be a while. It's just sad, and I don't know where we go from here. So that's
I can only offer, I live with a teacher too, right? She's been very vocal in the last couple of weeks, like, holy smoke, she's just like, I can't believe the town has elected not to improve the school system. So long. It's just kind of funny, it's been pretty active in my house.
But Christine, anything?
Just wanted to say, thank you for the privilege working with everybody, and I appreciate all the time and effort that you put into the project.
Yeah, I would just, I'll be brief too. I feel like just on behalf of the kids, all the hours that all of you put in, having professionals that do this for a living on the building committee is something that my colleagues that are superintendents don't always have. So I was really privileged to have that, and certainly all the work that the warrant committee did. No one does that, what they did, and they did a great job, and just really appreciate that on behalf of the kids, and hopefully we can move forward and get a building for them someday.
Yeah, well, I will just sort of echo what Mike said, but I'm actually going to, I think, reinforce a little further. I think it's incumbent upon the people who basically defeated the project, and they had their reasons, whether there was, all meritorious or not, they did a good job of creating that momentum, and the message got confused, and for whatever reason, they defeated the project. Medfield is the only town. I don't know other towns within 20, 30, 40, 50 miles from here who have defeated a project like this. We were involved in 4 or 5 others that are, Millis has done one, Ashland's doing one, Walpole's gonna do one, Norwood looks likely to do one, Westwood's doing one, Wellesley's doing them. Those towns are doing projects, Natick's doing the project. So those people that feel they knew better and know what it was that they were very specific about several proposals they made. They need to step up and, sit in the chair and do the work and give the town a project, because to be honest, I don't think there's a path forward otherwise. I don't think that there's a path forward on a project and having the tenor of the way the opposition worked out there. I don't think anyone's going to step up to want to do it. I don't think anyone, so they need to step up, and in my opinion, they obligated to do something for the town, because they're clearly something needs to be done. It's been needed to be done for years, decades, and I think they seem to have a strong self-confidence about what they can do, so they should step up and do it.
I agree.
Thanks, Tim. Anna Mae.
Oh, I do want to add one more thing. I do want to, having sat in Mike's chair, I know what that's 50 times the work that we've done on a committee when we're in that chair. And that's very difficult. And to have it kicked out of you for 2 years is not, and this was worse. This was worse than I've ever seen in terms of the attacks and what was going on. So kudos to you for
Thank you.
having the ability to sit through it.
Take your time.
I'm trying to channel. I shouldn't be on committees, I'm just,
All the reason why you should, because you care that much.
I'm trying to channel my disappointment, my anger, to gratitude. I'm grateful to each and every one of you sitting here, and to the folks who stepped up on the communication subcommittee, Tracy and Susan and Bob and tonight, hours of work. And I'm not playing a victim here, but I just want to acknowledge all their time and effort, like each and every one of you, as well as I emailed someone today, and you know, my heart is really heavy, and I've emailed a lot of people, and I've received a lot of lovely emails as well. And I suppose there are a lot of little blessings here, and I'm just so proud of the young families who really rallied try to make this happen. So there is hope, but I'm trying to latch onto that. But I'm also very, 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 you know, I feel for them, and I'm angry that their kids are not going to get a new school, and I'm angry that the teachers at Dale, my heart is so heavy for them, because I can just imagine, I'm not in that school, but I can imagine that they weren't validated. Their sentiments, the time they spent with the warrant committee, the letters they've written, they were not validated, and that has to be painful, and I can empathize with that. So our kids deserve a new school, our teachers deserve a new school. So I really hope and pray this can happen. But it is very disappointing, because I really thought this was going to pass, and I thought, all right, we can gear up for this. We can, try to kind of strategize. All right, what can we do better for the next special town meeting? And then I thought, what, so it hurts my heart that we didn't support education this time around. But again, thank you to each of you. I am very, very, very grateful. I've learned a lot, and that's it.
Thank you. Bob?
Yeah, actually, I've got a little bit more to say. Which may not surprise you. First of all, I'm representing the warrant committee. And the responsibility of the warrant committee is to oversee the fiscal responsibility of the town. So in my role, which I've always said is not as a non-voting role, Mike says, he doesn't distinguish it, but it's distinguishable. Because each one of you represent the actions and the work of this committee. My job is to observe and to report back to the warrant committee. And it's, really from the work that I've done and my involvement is why we initiated the work that we've done over the last 2 months. Because I could see the work that's being done, and I could see the management of what, and I could see the importance of the facts. Now, you don't need me to say this, but I will say it. You should be very proud of the work that you've done. And you should recognize that there's no winners in this, and there's certainly no losers. So for any of you to sit here today, and I'll just say this as a citizen, none of you should think I've lost. We got 60% at the town meeting. That's not a super majority. But it would have passed the Senate, 60%. The final vote, 51.8 to 48.2. Sounds to me like pretty freaking close to a tie. All right. This concept that the majority of the town was in strong favor and that you had made mistakes and weren't listening wasn't borne out by the vote. So that's a personal comment to each one of you. Now, it would have been easy, in my observation, to have said, let's build a school that fits on the site. Instead, you put your work together and took the risk of building the best school on the right cycle. That's a judgment. Mike made it clear from day one, there's a risk, 67% is a high bar. And if you listen to the selectman last night, Pete Peterson mentioned, there's people, and Tim and I know this from 20 years ago, who will never vote to increase their taxes. Period. I don't know if that's 10% or 20%, it's someplace in that range. So you're working, you already got 15% in the hole. Because people won't vote for taxes. If you go down to the vote, if you go to the ballot, people will come in and they'll say, wait a minute, what is this about? And you have to read it. And they'll say, wait a minute, if I vote yes, my taxes will go up. That's the criteria, you know, it's the old story. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Everybody wants a new school, but nobody wants to pay for it. That's the reality. So, you know, you're taking on a huge effort. But one of the comments that I keep hearing that really bothers me is, thanks for your work, but you got it wrong. Thanks for showing up, but you didn't listen. Now, so I was riding over here and I put some notes. You said you didn't listen, okay? You heard concerns on the site, on the history, on the archaeology, on open space, and you addressed all of it. You heard that. You heard concerns about the well water and the environmental issues. So you engaged experts and you put mitigation steps to improve the wastewater management. You heard them. You heard concerns on cost and designed a school that was as efficient and cost effective as every school that Tim referenced or better in the area. And still, people published it as the most expensive school in the history of the Commonwealth. It wasn't even the most expensive school in the area. You heard concerns on the projected enrollment. And you weighed the additional cost of about 5 million, that's the high side, to get 19 million back. You know, that part, I just, as a finance person, we're gonna go into the budget right now and we're gonna try and save $1,000 every place we can. And we're gonna hear and be moaning about the fact that we're so reliant on real estate taxes and can't get our fair share. And today we sent $19 million back to the state. We heard the position of the educators, particularly the teachers, that considered the advantages of the elementary campus. It was never addressed by the people who opposed it. And one of the people at the town meeting said we don't need a gym or a cafeteria. I mean, how you guys can fight that? And you heard concerns on traffic. You made site improvements to reduce on-street impact and initiated and set aside money for further mitigation. You don't need to hear this, but other people do. So, and it's not fair for you to have to stand up and defend yourselves. So I'm not defending anything, I'm just observing. But I will say, and I heard you saying earlier, we need to step back and slow down. I personally, I'm gonna tell you, that is not what we should be doing. Someone, you know, Gus mentioned last night that we're gonna deal with this for 5 years. We can't afford to wait for 5 years. We can't afford the cost of waiting for 5 years is documented. So I agree with the comments that were made. And I'm just one person of the 4,000 who voted, or the 9 on the warrant committee, but I will tell you, in my opinion, we gotta push this thing forward. I don't expect any of you to put into the effort you have so far. But I'm asking you, don't go away. You know, so I'm not thanking you for your work, I'm thanking you for your product. And this product is critical going forward. And it's gonna have to be part of the resolution. We need a school. It's not gonna be the school that was proposed. That's clear. But we need a school. We need to put all our heads together. They talked about having a public forum that will find out why people were opposed to what it was. You know, Gus made reference last night that people made considerations for things that weren't practical. Well, I don't know how you work with, you know, that's just part of what you work with, that's part of life, you know, in the town meetings format. But we gotta figure out how we get a school built. And now we're gonna build it on our own. So it's gonna be expensive in and of itself. It will be impossibly expensive in 5 years. So I agree with the comment, you know, one of the mottos was, we deserve a better choice or a better option. That's 50% of the people who voted. I don't think it was all of them, but let's say it was. I think the other 50% who voted for the school deserve to know what that option is. So, again, not thanking you for your work, thanking you for your product. It's a terrific job you did. It was a service to the town that shouldn't be squandered. That's my comment.
Thanks, Bob. Mike, anything?
I'm just gonna make it brief, but, you know, I'm also a resident, not just, you know, an employee. And I wanna thank all of you for your time. I've sat on other school building committees in other communities, and I can tell you the expertise that was on this committee, I haven't been on in other committees. So that should say a lot about this committee. You know, if you add all the years up of everyone that's been on this committee and the expertise they have, it goes a long, long way. You know, I've been on 3 other building projects that were successful and had not even half the expertise that this committee had. So to me, that's what's disappointing, because we had to listen to what this community has, and we put all those people that understand construction on the committee, and I feel like the community didn't listen. And I want to apologize as a resident to you for the community, because they should have listened to what you had to say, because you do this every day, right? 24/7 for the last, I can't imagine how many years. And it just, to me, that's what's disappointing. So I just want to thank you.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate all those comments. I have a few things I'd just like to say before we wrap this up. And I had to write them down because I wasn't sure I'd be able to just wing it. I have so many to thank for their extensive effort and passion in support of our schools and public education. It takes courage to volunteer for this complex and challenging effort. You've all given me the energy to keep fighting for a project from which so many children would have benefited. Our youth are our future, and nothing is more vital to our future success than raising educated and thoughtful young men and women. First and foremost, thanks to our SBC. Jeff, Steve, Anna Mae, Leo, and Mike L., thank you for your continuing fight for what is best for generations of our children and the future of our public schools. Christine, Mike Marcucci, Amy Collar, and Bob Sliney, thank you for leading our town in all its struggles, successes, and failures. This is just one of the many hurdles you face, and I, for one, am grateful for your leadership. Tim, Walt, Tom, and Mike Weber, thank you for your sage advice, wisdom, experience, and support in all our efforts to make educated and intelligent decisions about our current and future municipal buildings. Secondly, I want to recognize the extraordinary work of our subcommittees. Our communications subcommittee, led by the eternally optimistic and tireless Anna Mae. With help from Tracy Rogers, Tim Bonfati, Bob Sliney, Tim Knight, and Susan Maritain. Our sustainability subcommittee, led by our energy warrior Megan Sullivan, and supported by Tom Erb, Jason Uzel, Walt Kincaid, Alex Stevens, and Amy Colleran. Thirdly, I'd be remiss if I didn't send my heartfelt and deep gratitude to the Warrant Committee for passionately seeking the truth and the facts. Their effort was truly unprecedented and should be applauded by all. Lastly, but perhaps most importantly, I want to thank all. Let me go choked up here. I want to thank all the teachers, administration, and staff at Dale Street School. Your passion for educating our children, your dedication to our town, despite the hurdles we as a town keep putting in front of you, has made the many hours I invested in this project worthwhile, regardless of the outcome. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Energy and persistence conquer all things." When I reflect on those words, they're embodied by each of the individuals I've mentioned here this evening. And this is why you all give me hope for the future of Medfield. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Well said, Mike. Thank you.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Wanna go in?
No, we don't.
No, we're good.
We
We don't
actually,
exist.
we don't exist
anymore.
anymore.
We don't want